stir it up and do things our way. So if you wanna move, get out of our way. Welcome, darlings.
I want to say it's getting better, but I think it's more of a lateral move each week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as long as it's consistent.
It's true.
I think I should have a cig as I'm doing, or for this very special episode, I think I should have had an e-cig.
Oh God,
you guys, it's here. The episode. What do you call it? Like canon? Is that the word? It is. Whew, we are here for the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Season 1 Rewatch. And this is episode 9. But you don't know it is episode 9. You don't know where it's its own season. It's its own historical event. This week we watched The Dinner Party from Hell.
Dun, dun, dun.
I say heaven because I think it's one of the greatest pieces of television ever. Of entertainment. It was EGOT worthy.
Totally.
Just give them all 4.
it was. I mean, now they use that term for every show, every season, every franchise, every season has a dinner party from hell. But this was
literally the name of the episode.
And Nate, I'm jealous because it's your first time watching it.
Yeah.
It plays in my head every day for the last 14 years.
Only for one chance to make a first impression. And I was taken out of the episode from the first minute. So even before we got to the dinner party from hell, because of a really weird continuity error. I don't know if you guys saw it or even care. The opening at the beginning when Lisa and Ken are driving. And she's driving too fast. Ken's giving her shit. And then she's saying to him, you can't even drive. You're a terrible driver. There were shots of them driving. And then it pulled out to a farther shot and Ken was driving. Like they had swapped. And then they cut back in and Lisa was driving again. And that happened like a minute into the show. And I couldn't think about another thing the entire episode. It took me out. I was like, how do you make a continuity error that bad? Anyway, sorry. I just had to read it. But here, go back and watch it. A minute 53 into the episode, there will be a cutout and the wrong person is driving.
Oh God. Now I'm gonna be thinking about that all episode long while we're recording. Then I want to go back and see that. Like I can't believe I missed that.
All I could do. That and then the Lisa's outgoing voicemail message, evidently.
Oh, that was funny.
That was funny. That is something I would have totally done in 2005, where Camille was calling her to invite her to the dinner party, and Lisa was just doing that hello, like outgoing voicemail where it sounded like it was cutting up, and Camille kept repeating herself, and then it took her way too long to realize, oh, I'm talking to an answering machine.
Yeah,
which is
It also, in my opinion, was indicative of like how not close they are.
Yeah.
Because Kyle already knows this. Like Kyle and probably Kim, they've already heard and Adrienne, they've already heard this answering machine already many times before. So they already freaking knew. Like, so they just were like, no.
It just took me back. I totally would have done that in my early 20s.
If there's something Camille did for this show besides the drama, was actually bond all the other women. Because all the other women hated her. And they would have now Housewives have come out and said, Mellencamp even said it, one of her bitchy remarks on her podcast recently. What you do when you're filming is get a call from Lisa Vanderpump that night. And you will be going over what happened. She's a self-producer. And so these women did call each other and talk, and it was all the time, and it's very clear Camille was not in on those calls. Yeah. Oh,
but yeah, it was a lovely dinner party. Clearly a trap. It was obviously a trap for Kyle. She was walking, she was walking into a hornet's nest. Because that's the craziest thing about the whole dinner from hell is that Camille didn't really do anything. She sicked not even her friends, because Dee Dee didn't do anything either. It was all Allison. She basically was like, okay, Camille was the gift that you love to use so much, the throwing the match and walking away. That's exactly what Camille did, and then was just like, I'm going to let Allison do it. But Kyle was hip to it because Kyle had a friend that she already made plans with. And who did she bring? You know, it's a poor metaphor given Faye's history, but you don't bring a knife to a gunfight. You bring Faye Resnick to a gunfight. Yeah. She knew what she was doing.
Well, but that's the thing is that was Camille's biggest misstep, was allowing Kyle to bring a friend and not knowing what friend that was. Yeah. Was saying like, oh, well, I guess you could bring that friend. Because she was probably thinking that this friend was just as, and I'm using air quotes here, just as weak as Kyle is, because Camille perceived Kyle as weaker than her because she was poorer than her. So that's what she perceived her as. But and then she set her up by getting, it was like, if I give my psychic, and I'm going to use the word friend in quotes as well, because it's really her employee, let's not forget, like she had 2 friends there. No, there were 2 employees there.
We still have not seen Camille with a friend who isn't on her payroll in some capacity. Dee Dee does her hair or makeup. Nick, God knows. Allison is an actress is a consultant on a show. Everyone works for her, which is something that's different for Kyle. Kyle is a girl's girl in that sense, especially a little different meaning these days. But back then, I mean, you know, look at Faye. She's always had a lot of girlfriends. And there was a funny part about this where I'm jumping forward a little, but where Allison, the psychic, is throwing these things out there and saying like, to Kyle, you're not a girl's girl. You don't get, and even Camille jumps in and is like, no, I think that's me. Yeah.
Well, and that's it. Like Camille was like, if I get Allison drunk, she will do my dirty work for me.
Oh yeah. Because she flat out said, you get 2 drinks in her and the gloves are off, and then immediately hands her this giant, like,
it's like a goblet.
Yeah, the thing that even was it Adrienne or Lisa was like, I took 1 sip and I was like, nope, because it was that strong. Was it Adrienne? Yeah.
Adrienne said that, but when they were served the drinks, LVP, whose specialty were bars and restaurants, she took a sip and it cut to the confessional, and she said those drinks were designed to get us wasted. They were huge. She took a sip and probably knew everything that was in it, like a sommelier or whatever. She was like, nope.
I don't know if it was on purpose. She may have just been legitimately didn't know, but it was Lisa's dismissal of Allison was so great. Like Allison was doing the humble brag, like, oh, there was a show based on me. Patricia Arquette plays me in the show. And Lisa was like, what's the name of that? I've not heard of that. What's the name of that show? And at the point that this episode was recorded, Medium had been on for like 6 years. I think Patricia Arquette had won several Emmys, or at least nominated. So Lisa either just did that, just a total dismissal, which was perfect, because Allison looked so deflated afterwards, because it was like she was trying to brag. And she's like, oh, I've never heard of that. And then she was like, oh, I'll have to check it out. What's it called? Yeah. It's like, oh, come on.
LVP was an MVP in this episode. Her play, I loved when they would cut to her, and she was just watching and smirking. I think it really got Allison riled up that none of the women took her seriously. In her mind, she was the guest of honor.
How could you take that seriously?
I mean, we're jumping all around, but I have to say, Faye had the best line of the evening, which she was like, my psychic senses tell me no. Died. I replayed that. I was like, she did not say that. I totally forgot that she said this, because Allison was like, I'm a psychic and my senses tell me that that's right. And she was like, well, my senses tell me that you're wrong.
Yeah.
The look the one thing that Camille did to try to pick a fight was I know you from Playboy, which was just a weird thing, and everybody else was really uncomfortable. But the look that Faye shot back was like, Again, I hate making death jokes and things because of Faye's, ties. But if they had showed Faye like pulling a steak knife under the table to like lunge at Camille, I would not have been surprised. That death stare. And then she's like, oh yeah, I thought I recognized you from Playboy, which in itself is a weird thing. And then Kyle's like, Camille, weren't you in Playboy? And she's like, yes.
Well, I like Kim's confessional where she goes, "Oh yeah, she just was opening a magazine from the 90s last week." Like,
Yeah.
wait, we are jumping all
Sorry.
over.
Yeah,
We
that's
should get on
Yeah.
a little bit of a path here.
Yeah.
But it's a dinner party from hell. Obviously, they all came.
Ugh.
Dee Dee, poor Dee Dee. Allison came, and all the women.
All the women in 2 limos. They got it. Well, okay, even before that, sorry, there was a little bit of like talk. I feel like it was with Dee Dee, and Camille was like talking about all these like self-help books that she reads and stuff like that. Or she's like, I have a stack of self-help books. And I was like, well, maybe you should read them and just stop stacking them up because you need some help.
The only self-help book we saw her reading was The Art of War.
Yeah.
Because this was in reference to her. She was saying she's planning the dinner party, discussing it with someone. And she's like, it's just, I do have trouble forgiving and letting go, but I'm working on it. She's like, I'm working on it. I'm reading self-help books. Her self-help book was The Art of War.
It's like, no. And then we saw a Louboutin bag delivered to LVP, signed by To Pinky. It's the dumbest nickname ever. Yeah. Apparently, that's what LVP wanted to be called on the show. She wanted to be called Pinky, but the producers were like, "No."
Pinky Vanderpump sounds like a porn star. They told
absolutely
her.
does.
It does, and it does sound like that.
And the first rule of nicknames is you cannot give yourself a nickname. You can't make that happen. If nobody else is gonna, you can't make Pinky happen.
Yeah. You see it throughout the season where when women are wearing pink, she was really trying to brand it in her house now as Villa Rosa, where they'd be like, "Oh, you're wearing my pink," or you know what I mean, like jokingly, but she was really trying to make pink her thing.
Yeah, but no, not happening. But this is, it made me think back to like the post that we had from a few episodes ago on our Instagram that's still going crazy about, you know, that she painted some Aldo shoes red. She painted the soles of them red because she didn't want to pay for all the Louboutin shoes. And people are like, that's not true. But then we have people who worked at Louboutin who have commented on that post who said she was not a VIP at Christian Louboutin during that era. So people can go back and they can look in the comment section of our of that Instagram post, and they can see that there are people who worked in there and have been commenting saying no.
And I would like, there were a few comments that are like, I'm just making this up. Me, check my Instagram, see who I know.
And also, you weren't saying that all of her Louboutins are fake. No, just saying that like that there were some that were fake because, and as I even said, you don't get rich in Beverly Hills by spending all your money. Like, sometimes like if you're gonna have to wear so many shoes and have such a like, sure, you're gonna have some stuff from Zara in there, and you're gonna have some shoes, you know, that you were like, they kind of look like Louboutins. Might as well put a red bottom on him, because back especially in 2010, you know, that was very popular to have. So okay,
now they call them dupes, and it's common. You see like an Amazon dupe for a Valentino belt or whatever. And also Housewives in general, they spend where you can see it. People aren't going to be looking so closely at her shoes. As long as they see the red sole, they're like, oh, she's wearing Louboutin. So I mean, they spend where you can see it, and it's just like practical. It wasn't like saying she couldn't afford Louboutins. It's like, who wants to spend $30,000 a month on shoes, you know?
No, it's true. Whereas like Kyle spends money on Glam by Pam. We got to see again.
Our dear friend. I didn't realize she went back that far on the show.
Right? She's season 1 all the way.
Yeah.
And we got to see more of her this time. Like they were like having like an old school like girls sesh like talk about the whole situation, which I was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's talk about this. And then Camille tries to have like a girl sesh talk while in her closet, which that closet gave me anxiety because it was Camille's closet was so big yet so, in my opinion, cramped and disorganized for somebody who's that rich. I was like, if you're that rich, like, because LVP's closet makes me so happy, like, because it's so organized. Do you know what I mean?
She has
it's
one
like,
of the best closets, like not even Housewives, just one of the most phenomenal closets you've ever seen.
Yeah. It's just set up well. Everything like looks good. It's displayed well and everything. And also like all the, I'm sorry. I was kind of like, Camille, why do you have all these shitty hangers? Like, get some good hangers. Like, like, you're that rich. You have that many homes. You can at least have that many good hangers.
Yeah. I did find another funny thing before we move on about LVP, because I've been seeing on Instagram this and Twitter this trend where, like, from that era, like early 2010s, why were girls wearing business casual to the club? And I caught LVP going to this dinner party is wearing a pencil skirt and a ruffled blouse. It was very like hot lawyer going in the office. I was like, that was so, with Louboutins, it's like that was so on trend for back then. Peplum top and the grinding in the club.
Yeah, it was sexy secretary chic.
And that's exactly what she was. So it's like, it really does. It's like a time capsule of this era. Sometimes I'll see them flash to cars and I'm like, oh my God, that car's been redesigned like 3 times since. But I remember when that was a dream car. Like, it's such a time capsule.
All right, let's get into this.
Yeah, let's get it. Let's hit that dining room where all the magic happened.
Oh my gosh. Well, Nate, how did you feel?
Okay, you might not love hearing this, and maybe it's because it was built up too much. Well, as I've told you before, I hate uncomfortable television. It's why I can't watch Curb. And honestly, I found a few weeks ago the fight in New York, "You're such a fucking liar, Camille." That made me super uncomfortable to the point I was ready to start fast forwarding. This one didn't as much, maybe because I was expecting too much, but I think more so it was so over the top. It was like straight up telenovela. Like, it's like, oh, this isn't even a real fight. This is so over the top. And the way they would cut to Allison Dubois with her stupid fucking e-cigarette, and she was hamming it up. And now I know what that gif is of her with the e-cig. Didn't know what that was before. I'm not going to lie. And I texted you guys this, that every time I'd seen that gif before, I thought it was Ellie Kemper from The Office. I honestly did. So then I saw this and I was like, oh, that's what this is from. But everything she did was so over the top, and I hate her, and I hope she's not on for a little while longer. I don't know.
So this episode, first of all, the e-cig industry owes Allison Dubois.
This was pre-vaping, so I was like, oh wow, this is old school.
This was like new to us. She really did. She created an industry. But so, you won't see her again. And she felt that Camille, it came out later, she stopped talking to Camille. She felt Camille got her drunk and set her up. And she was humiliated by this dinner as well, watching back.
Did she not see that coming? No, she didn't. She wasn't like, you know what, I'm not going to go tonight.
She does now. She disappeared for a very long time. Now that her one thing came true, that when Kyle's kids grow up, she won't have anything in common with Mauricio, and so she won't be emotionally fulfilled, that they'll divorce. And
that one actually came true.
One line came true. Now she's out doing like podcasts and posts about it. Like, it took like 14 years, but something came of it for her.
Allison had so many lines that, like we talked about Alexis on OC, trying to have lines that you just know are going to hit, or at least you're going to try. So she just had one of them didn't even make sense. It was, again, I'm sorry about skipping forward, but it was more at the end when Camille is talking to Allison after everybody's left. But she had one line that made no sense. She said, she was talking about all the women. She said, bitch is a 1-syllable word for a reason. It's all they understand. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Bitch is a 1-syllable word for a reason? It's like she's talking. I don't understand.
She was drunk. She was drunk out
Yeah.
of her gourd. Like, that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, Camille set her up. Camille totally set her up, got her drunk, got her into this place where she could like be her little pit bull and do her work for her, dirty work for her. And did, and embarrassed her.
Yeah.
On national television. So yeah.
I mean,
as
I
Lisa
like
said, it was a few clowns short of a circus.
I like how both sides brought their backup, Camille and Kyle, and both are sitting there accusing each other of exactly what they're doing. And they both were right, but they were both denying it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
I mean, but this is what I would say, you know, because Camille called Faye morally corrupt. And I would say, well, Camille, you're pretty morally corrupt for using your, like, setting up your friends to do your dirty work with trying to do it without them knowing, like at least Allison without her knowing. Dee Dee might have had an idea of what was going on, but
I did, Jordan, just because you say it so often, when it did have Camille doing in her confessional saying the morally corrupt Faye Resnick, I became that Leonardo DiCaprio gif from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where I was pointing at the TV. I was so excited. I'm like, yeah, finally. Okay, that's where it comes from. Did Camille create that line, or was that something that came before that?
The morally corrupt. You have to remember too, before this, Faye Resnick was not that well known. She was one of the figures in the OJ trial, like Kato Kalin or whatever.
And the star of one of my favorite Playboys of all time.
Yeah. Camille's
I don't
too.
fucking know which. Yeah, totally.
But this is what really introduced her into current pop culture, and you'll see she becomes a figure. She becomes what Allison wanted to be off this, I think.
Yeah.
She becomes a recurring character throughout the season, or throughout the series, and of course, too, on the flip side of the Richards and Hilton, she's also old friends with Kris Jenner, and she's been a part of the Kardashian circle, and she is the glue, as we've discussed, that holds true LA Beverly Hills pop culture together. She's connected to everyone, and she's extremely charming. I've said it before. Like, I like the way she handled Allison at one moment. There was, oh God, I wish I could find the line. It will come to me. Oh, that's it. When Allison keeps going, I'm off the clock. And like the way Faye goes, well, it's just everyone's so excited about this special little gift you have. Like, she's really, what is it? A wolf and an iron fist and a silk glove or a velvet glove. I mean, she's dynamic.
Well, Lisa had the best line. Lisa in her confessional said, Faye is like a panther roaming through the jungle. Yeah.
LVP loved this episode. You just watched.
She just sat back and just watched it all happen. Adrienne was sitting there just uncomfortable.
I was gonna say Adrienne looked totally uncomfortable, but yeah, Lisa loved it.
Because this is my thing. I thought it was incredibly rude and also again, showed how much of a setup it was. Like, Camille was like, this is where I'm sitting, this is where Allison's sitting, this is where Dee Dee's sitting, and then anybody can decide where else they're going to sit. And I was like, well, this is very un-Heather Dubrow right here. I was like, look, if you're hosting a dinner party, it's either there are no assigned seats or everybody's assigned. You don't just assign like 3 people that you want to assign and then let everybody else have it. Like, no, that's what would Emily Post Dubrow say about that? Like, come on.
It totally reinforces the setup, because really you're supposed to, in seating arrangements, sprinkle people throughout, mix it up. You don't put a husband in, so people can mingle. Instead, she's like, people on my side are right next to me. Screw you all. So.
Yep. And poor Adrienne is sitting next to Al, and you can just see her it just keeps, she like is moving further and further away from her as she can get. It's like, let me make myself small and get away from here.
Adrienne like really leads with the place of kindness. That's where LVP was loving the spectacle. Adrienne was so uncomfortable with it.
I mean, I'm really surprised that it was Taylor that ended it and was like, "Let's get out of here," and it wasn't Adrienne who was like, "Let's get out of here." That's originally the thing that surprised me, that Taylor was just like,
Mhm.
"Enough." That's another gift that you'll see a lot. Enough of like
Yeah.
Taylor just doing enough, but the Taylor got so fed up with it that she was like, "This is not us." And Adrienne was up as soon as she could.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
that
Okay, we're
happened.
good. Yeah.
But
Mhm.
but it did surprise me that Adrienne did not initiate that, because she'd seemed the most uncomfortable out of everybody there.
One of the best moments for me that would become a gif I use over and over is when Taylor Kim Richards turns in all the I think Kim got a lot of anxiety from all the fighting going on around her. She said she doesn't do well with conflict. So she panicked and turned on Taylor.
Yeah, I was gonna say that caught me off guard because that seemed to come out of nowhere. There were two defined teams fighting the entire time, and all of a sudden, Taylor and Kim start going at it. That was weird.
Yeah, and then at that moment, the whole table devolves into chaos, and Camille from the head seat smirks and shrugs. Like, my
Mhm.
job here is done. They
Yeah.
all are fighting, and that's a famous another one of her expressions.
Mhm.
Just like the e-cig.
Oh, another example of how Camille set Allison up too is the fact that she didn't seem to give Allison the dress code for the evening.
Mhm.
Did you notice? I mean, she's there wearing slacks and a top, very, 2010-ish top and a sweater. She's not dressed schlubbily. Like, she's dressed fine for a casual dinner. But she's not, but everybody else is dressed up in like kind of like going out cocktailish
Mhm.
attire. She's told a dress code to everybody else of like cocktail dinner. And she has not told Allison this,
Mm.
in my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe Allison was like, "Fuck it, I don't care. I'm a free spirit. I wear whatever I want to wear." But I kind of seriously doubt that, because I feel like there's a free spirit dress up, way too.
Well, there was I only heard her. This is why I took it as a dig at Kyle in the beginning when she's calling the women to invite them. She says to Kyle, "Yeah, you can bring your friend, but it's cocktail attire, so dress nicely." That was a dig. That
Such
was a
dig.
Camille dig. Like, listen, she called her a ragamuffin.
Mm-hmm.
She
Yeah.
slipped that in.
And a
Like, please-
homeless woman. She's called her a
Mhm.
homeless woman too. So deranged homeless woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Also, when Camille was talking about Faye having been in Playboy, she was such a coward in that she was talking about it, but she wasn't saying it to Faye's face, even though Faye
Yeah.
is sitting right there. She was talking about the whole thing, and she's looking at like LVP and Dee Dee. She's looking at the other side of the table, and she won't look at her. I was like, "Girl, if you're going to say these things on camera at your own home, you better say it looking straight at that person
Mhm.
and do it." Because at least like Faye says it right to your face and says it
Yeah.
to you in your eye and is going to do it. And and at least Kyle does too. Like, Kyle will say it in your face. And at least Allison Dubois does it as well. You
Mhm.
won't though. You won't. And that's a coward right there.
I did love in her confessionals. Camille, this was really wonderful. I know this is another one of those episodes that made her the most hated housewife in America, but attention is attention. And I don't know, but she's still going over, how could Kyle ever be mad at her? And she's like, it must be, it's hard for me to say, but it must be jealousy. I don't like saying women are jealous of me, but it's true.
I mean, God, how many times has she said that each episode?
And she's very, very comfortable saying people are jealous of her.
Mm-hmm.
And she also made a comment. I don't have the exact line, but it was something about how Camille saying about herself that she's the kindest person she knows. Where she's like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
So generous and just can't bring me down off the cross. God, Lord. Oh man. I will say, I did think it was a little, although I do think it was a little rude when Kyle talking about Allison, when Allison's like, I'm off the clock, even though we know why Allison was brought there. And I think like, but Kyle was like, should I bring out my credit card? And then she'll be, I was like, that's a little rude. Like, I think that came off. That doesn't age well, in my opinion, but whatevs. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things where I'm like, ouch, but okay, whatevs.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's hard to say someone was too rude to Allison Dubois at this dinner.
Yeah, exactly. After what all happened, like it's kind of like early in the dinner, I'm like, oh, okay, ouch. But then later on, you're just like, oh, okay, I'll let that go because.
So, a big takeaway from this episode, though, with Allison Dubois and everything, of course, is we know where Camille's marriage is heading, and even Camille says about. I think the next season at a look back, or maybe it's later this season in a confessional, she's like, Allison may have been picking up messages for me and thinking they were for Kyle.
Well, there's a couple of moments when Allison's talking, and granted, we don't necessarily know because of editing, but there are moments where Camille has a very scared look on her face. Where you're just like, that she looks frightened of whatever's going to come out of Allison's mouth or what's going to happen there. So yeah, like there's something brewing there. Like I feel like there's a bit of her that was maybe second guessing bringing a psychic to this just in case she picked up on anything that she didn't want the other women to know about her life. So yeah.
I think Allison has since moved to Phoenix. If I looked her up, I mean, she's popped up again now because she feels vindicated.
I mean, she really was just a comic villain. That's why I thought telenovela, just the hamming up with the e-cig. Like she was straight up doing like Andrew Dice Clay poses with her cigarette, and it was like, oh come on.
She's like, I can tell you when you'll. Oh, I loved when she was like, about Kyle. She's like, I can tell her when she'll die and what will happen to her family, and I love that about me. And like I love that about me. Oh
yeah, she did move back to Arizona too.
Yeah,
and she was born in Arizona, so from the desert going back to the desert.
I keep thinking about her one-liners because they were really bad. They were really bad. And one she keeps using is she's going around the table. You have 2 legs, leave. You have not very nice to Aviva Drescher.
I mean, so after they leave, okay, it felt like it took them like 30 minutes to even leave. I was like, what's going on here? Like, also, like, I feel like Kim and Taylor kept like wandering around somehow inside the house. I don't know. Like it took them forever to leave. And then they get, the sprinklers turned on as they're trying to leave. I was like, what's going on here? But Camille being a Karen and again saying that she was verbally assaulted by Kyle yet again.
Yeah.
I was like, you're not, look, no, you're not being verbally assaulted by Kyle. Stop it. She's like, in my own home. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, you could have asked her to leave too. It is your home. You could easily ask somebody to leave. If you felt that you were being verbally assaulted in your own home, you could easily stand up and say, you, very a la Heather Dubrow, you can now leave.
Yeah. Oh, this episode's so magical. This is my first time rewatching it in years. And so I do I like so many lines I forgot about. I know I can visually see the whole episode, but every time you watch, you're like, oh wow, that was really effed up. This is magical.
I did love Kyle's "excuse me, you're boring me" line. That's one you can. That's one I'll use.
I thought at the end it was so sad how they left Kim in her own.
Why was she okay? I get that Taylor and Kim wouldn't necessarily want to be in a car together, but why did everybody leave? Like, why is Kim in the limo by herself?
Because Kim at this point lived in Westlake Village, which is just
so it was more for
canyon.
Convenience. Oh, I thought they were doing it for dramatic effect. Like she was the person on the outside.
All the other women were heading back to the Beverly Hills area.
Yeah.
And Kim was in Westlake Village, which is like probably 15 minutes from Camille, and they were all heading like 45 minutes away. So, but the scene they give, it's so sad.
Yeah.
Kim's alone in the back of her stretch limo calling
Yep.
Kyle. No one's picking up, and Kyle's like making plans. They're going straight to the Polo Lounge for drinks after to like debrief on what just happened.
That does the timelessness of, or I guess not timelessness, but it's very of its era. Is just seeing the blackberries. Everybody having a blackberry makes me so happy. It's so nostalgic.
Yeah,
Those blackberries, definitely.
it's
I
hard.
never
They still
had
have-
one.
Oh, it was the best.
And they were still in the town car limos, which now have been replaced with. I mean, this was a time and a place. It was Bravo lot.
e-cigs, blackberries, town
Sky
cars,
tops.
everything.
Yeah.
Oh, the good old days. Oh, oh. I'm so happy that you finally have seen this. I'm looking forward to the Amsterdam dinner in a few seasons.
Got to wait a little bit for that one, but yeah. But I am legitimately impressed how GIF worthy, like how I've seen so many of these GIFs, and they're all like, it seemed to be in like consecutive episodes. Like, oh, okay, oh, that's what that is. Oh, okay.
It is interesting too that this dinner party from hell is called that, and it's such a landmark of like what Camille calls verbal assault and stuff, because that's what I think in New Jersey. New Jersey, they were like pulling each other's hair and table flipping, but that's what made Beverly Hills so special. They're so dainty. You raise your voice in front of my butler. Like, I need like 6 therapy sessions. You question my seating chart, like.
We're just built differently out here on the West Coast, you know. Like, you don't flip a table; you just flip a bird.
Well, on that note, I mean, it's gonna pain me because every time I think about this episode, a new thing pops up, and maybe I'll just keep rewatching it. It'll be my lullaby. We named the podcast. Look, the Morally Corrupt. She's their patron saint.
She is. I really would love to do like one of those patron saint Housewives candles with Faye Resnick on it. But the only reason I don't is because we know that her husband is a lawyer and a really good lawyer. And I'm afraid that we might get sued if we do it. So if Faye Resnick hears this and gives us permission for at least the 3 of us to just have our own personal Saint Faye Resnick candles, then I want that.
Yeah.
Please, Faye. Please just allow the 3 of us to have it. And then we could just have it in the background, always there, always lit for you, Saint Faye. But, we respect you. Like, we respect things only up to a point here at Pretty Corrupt. But we respect not being sued.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only act of kindness we have 2 acts of kindness we ask for. Please don't sue us, but please rate, review, subscribe, and follow.
That was a professional segue.
And a good reason, especially to follow us, not only subscribing to the podcast, but following us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, is because if any of y'all follow Bravo Bitch Fest on TikTok, Instagram, or Twitter, and know her, Dahlia, who does the wonderful and amazing Bethany impressions, those videos are hilarious. I am going to be doing some special collab episodes of PCP, doing some astrology of Bravo celebrities and like Bravo couples. So those are going to start coming out in September at some point. Not sure exactly the dates yet. So that's why you need to follow us, because you'll be getting the heads up. And as soon as those episodes drop, you'll see them. But those are going to be a lot of fun with me and Bravo Bitch Fest doing some astrology. And then you can find out what may be happening, what is in the stars for your favorite or most hated Bravo couples or Bravo celebrities here. So yeah, let's get deep.
On that note, we hope this episode emotionally fulfilled you.
It did me.